was a battle between two supposedly opposed dichotomies, flat Earth and globe Earth. The globe Earth relies solely on visible phenomena and an interpretation of visible phenomena to suit an already preconceived bias, a presuppositional bias of what the Earth and the universe is. Then they seek to interpret, and as I say, the globe Earth in particular is 100% based on interpreting visible, purely visible phenomena. There's a massive difference between visible phenomena and tangible phenomena. Visible phenomena are things like the stars, the luminaries, the sun, the moon, the supposed planetoids. These are lights that we only perceive visually. We do not have access to these things in 3 dimensions. We cannot, acquire them physically. They are out with our grasp of physics. And again, it's not just about the luminaries. When we're looking at the world, the objective world, visually, that is never going to be enough. When you look at the world visually, you are not seeing the world as it actually is. When people go on about visible phenomena, luminaries, ships over horizons, what the horizon is, what are objects within the field of vision, yada yada, it's a study into optics. It's not a study into the dimensions, the shape, the topography of the earth that we dwell upon. The two of them are very different and very separate. And I'll show you some examples to try and help you to comprehend exactly what I mean by that. As I say, predominantly, every aspect of the globe Earth is based on visible phenomena. So remember, we're talking about objective reality, we're talking about physics, we're talking about direct measure, demonstration of substances and their behaviours or interactions with each other, so that we can have a full comprehension. That's what we're looking for when we're looking at the reality that you and I share. This is, you're supposed to live here on this concept, remember. Now we're looking for physics, we're looking for direct measure. But what you're going to find in what I'm showing you here is that all you have is optics. Visible phenomena interpreted to fit a preconceived bias.
Number 10. All the other planets and stars we've ever seen are round, and there's no reason to indicate that the Earth should be any different.
Again, you get two fallacies here. We can perceive these things visually. We do not know that they are round balls. The other glaring aspect is that it's a red herring. We're talking about the Earth that we stand upon. It's akin to, as has been used many times before, the pool balls are round, therefore the pool table's round. It's the same kind of reasoning. Idiotic, retarded reasoning. My light bulbs are round, therefore my floor is round. That type of shit. Stupidity. Okay?
Number 9. Time zones. Day and night happen at different...
It gets dark, it gets light. Again, we're looking for direct measure. It shows that the earth and the waters upon the earth are curving, wrapping round a sphere, and that people are antipode to me right now, feet to feet, looking downwards relative to me in order to look at the sky. This here again, it gets dark, has got nothing to do, another red herring fallacy. A red herring, for those that don't know, is something that tries to give you the semblance of a point or a meaningful point in regards to a question. The question here is, what shapes the earth? This is what's known as a red herring. A red herring came from testing dogs and their ability to scent out, say, a fox. And what they would do is place red herrings along the path to see if the the dog would be distracted, so that it would lose sight of the actual goal and would be distracted into a nonsense, a red herring. Same here. The question is, what shapes the earth? We're not asking about day and night.
times at different places on Earth. In fact, it's always
day and night in the globe Earth paradigm is asserted to be a 3D sphere and another 3D sphere rotating around each other. Again, assumptions being made based on visible phenomena, that being the sun. We do not have access to the sun in 3 dimensions. We only perceive it 2-dimensionally through vision. Vision is 2-dimensional, not 3-dimensional, 2-dimensional. So how, with only a visible phenomena, a 2D representation of an apparent object, do you come to the conclusion that it's a 3-dimensional sphere? You don't. You have to assume that. Make it up.
Number 8. The Coriolis effect means freely moving things like cannonballs or hurricane winds are deflected.
Another red herring fallacy here. We're not talking about wind directionality. Coriolis effect is not utilised in any way, shape or form in any practical reference. Every single military person that I know of and my own experience will testify that the only thing you take into account in long-range sniper shooting is elevation and wind direction. End of fucking story. Again, Coriolis effect is a whole other subject matter. It's got nothing to do with establishing the shape of the Earth. That's the question. This is a red herring.
Deflected to the right, but only if you're north of the equator. If you're south of the equator, they're deflected left.
And that proves the shape of the Earth. How? It doesn't. It's so empty. As we go through these, if you were on the fence or it's your first time experiencing it, by the time we get to number 1, your whole being should be screaming at you. This is retarded. This globe Earth thing is very empty, very weak, and bordering on total retardation.
7. Triangles. If you walk 10,000 kilometers straight...
And now we have the cheek to talk about triangles on curved surfaces.
Straight along the Earth's surface, turn 9...
Again, this is a total absurdity. Nobody in the entirety of existence, nor will they ever walk 10,000 kilometres in one direction and have an accurate straight line, and then accurately turn 90 degrees and walk another 10,000 kilometres accurately in a straight line, and then do that for a third time. How are you going to account for going in a definite, perfect straight line? Again, this is for retards. Only retards would be appeased by this gibberish.
90 degrees to your right, walk 10,000 kilometers more, turn right again and walk another 10,000 kilometers, you'll be back to where...
Again, this is where the cult does things like assert things. This is like asserting. They'll assert this to children without anything empirical to back it up whatsoever. Now, if you draw, a straight line and turn 90 degrees on a ball, like a small ball, then of course it's not going to add up to 180 degrees. Any moron can achieve that. But just because you're drawing something on a small ball, how do you go from that to then assert that that's what's happening in reality when you don't have any empirical, real-world, practical reference to support that?
Where you started, having successfully made a triangle with 3 90-degree angles. As any geometry student can tell you, this is impossible.
As any geometry student should be able to tell you, triangulation, triangles, in the sense that we use them for triangulation and other functions, do not work on curved surfaces. So.
Number 6. The sun, in general, gets lower and lower in the sky as you travel away from the equator, and you can use this to directly...
Again, back to the sun, and we're now looking at perspective. And it doesn't get lower and lower, it appears to get lower and lower. Just as right now anybody can go outside and observe a lamp post. Stand next to the lamp post, now look along the street and observe that each lamp post appears to get lower and lower. Should we now remove the word appear and say that lamp post in the distance is getting lower? No, it appears, apparent. Right? Visually appears to get lower. Same with the sun. It's irrelevant in the question of what shape is the Earth. It's a whole other subject. The question is not what is the sun, what the shape is the sun, yada yada. The question is what shape is the Earth. So why now are we at number 6? shape of the Earth? It's because the globe Earth is nonsense.
Measure the Earth's curvature. Pick two places a few hundred miles directly north and south of each other, and at noon measure the shadows cast by a vertical meter stick at each location. You can
note how he's already drawn an arc, a curved surface. In the globular Earth model, they're going to assert that the globe's already real, and that the sun, in times gone by, started at 1 million miles away, and through the years, as they fudged the mathematical interpretations, they had to put it at a distance of 93 million miles away. So we now have a sun that's 400 times larger than the moon, 400 times the distance of the moon, and it just so happens that they appear to look the exact same size because it's just all coincidence magic stuff, right? If you had a local light source, again, nobody knows what the sun is, where it actually is, and what it actually is, but we can show quite clearly that if you've got a level surface and a local light source, the very same thing would happen. Put an object under the light in your living room. Now move the object away from that light, you will note that there is now a long shadow, whereas when it was directly under the light there was no shadow. Does that now mean that your floor is curved? No, bloody well does not. So let go of that one.
You can use the shadow lengths to figure out the angle between sticks, and once you add in how far apart they are, you can calculate the Earth's curve.
Calculate's not direct measure either.
Number 5. The stars at night change as you go north or south.
Back to intangible phenomena, still nothing about the Earth. Interestingly, stars change going north or south. Stars don't change in relationship to each other whatsoever. I don't know if people are really aware of the heliocentric model that's been put to them, the conceptual reality, the idiotic notion of where you are, right? In the idiotic notion of where you are, you have a sun travelling at 500,000 miles per hour. The Earth and the other planetoids are orbiting the sun at 66,000 miles per hour, while spinning upon their own axis at 1,000 miles per hour. Yet none of the constellations change in their orientation in regards to their relationship to each other whatsoever. Not a jot.
For example, Orion is upside down if you're in Australia.
Oh, it's upside down here in Australia. Oh, it's amazing. That means the Earth's a curved surface ball thing. It's so empty. There's no specifics and detail in any of this reasoning whatsoever. How the fuck this was propped up for so long is beyond me. It's a testament to how willing people are just to accept whatever they're presented with, particularly when it's an assumed authority that's given them the information. But when you snap out of your hypnotic trance and you actually start analysing it, you should be able to see very quickly that it's a fucking absolute lunacy.
Number 4. Ferdinand Magellan, and many people afterwards, circumnavigated the Earth. That means...
What was he using? Compass. What was the compass point? North? Alright. So as he goes in a straight line, the needle's not going to start pointing in another direction, so he needs to correct so that he can keep it aligned north.
He left, headed west, continued going west, and came back to where he started, still going west. Actually, Magellan was dead, but one of his...
This is giving you this subliminal impression that he went in a perfectly straight line. Think of the logistics of that. We're talking about 25,000 miles. Right? How are you going to keep any vehicle in a perfectly straight fucking line? Has it been done? Can it be done? No. But yet this is asserted to you. And aspects left out so that it leaves you with this impression that you went in a perfectly straight line.
If you head west and circumnavigate the Earth yourself, you'll be able to tell because you'll have one fewer sunrise than everyone who stays at home.
I've got to fool myself, I'll get over you. I know I will. I'll pretend my ship's not sinking, and I'll tell myself I'm over you, 'cause I'm the king of wishful thinking.
Calculate's not direct measure either.
I am the king of wishful thinking.
Number 3. The horizon. Ships on the ocean or top...
Right, now we get to the horizon. The horizon is an optical phenomena. Right? This is what's known as perspective. Take away the objects, right? Take away the sun, take away any buildings. Right? This is the three-dimensional space. This is how we perceive it. The closest thing that we've got to it is perspective drawing. So we'll look at examples like this. So this is all done utilising straight lines. What we do, and depending on your orientation, depending on how you want it to be viewed, in this case we're looking downwards. The viewer or the person who would be standing here, his head would be tilted downwards, right? Looking straight but down. The reason you would know that is because the horizon is what is utilised. The straight line here, and it's called perspective drawing, so you can have varying aspects of perspective drawing. You can have 1 point, 2 point, 3 point perspective drawing, right? Where you can see in this case we have 2 points of reference. So we have two sides to, a building or whatever it is we're viewing, right? Now what we do is we have a straight line known as the horizon. And in 2 point perspective, because we have two sides of a building, you put a point here and a point here. Now you can draw a sequence of straight lines that are going to intersect each other so that you can draw things and how they would appear to us in the visual field. This is the closest thing we have to mimicking it, right? But when we're doing it, we're using a geometric position, a flat, horizontal line, right? You know, and we all know in reality, that these buildings are not converging closer to each other the higher up they go. The distance between the two of them is the same. Right? So this is what I'm talking about. The visual field, your vision, is not the same as how the earth, the objects, and the reference frame you're within appear to be. So when we go back, and we'll look at this, right? Now you know fine well that the ocean, if you're standing here and your feet are here, right? Then the ocean continues out in a straight line. But as you view it and you look straight ahead, the ocean appears to ascend, rise up into the centre of your field of view, and the sky comes down and there's a convergence point here, right? Now here we get a narrowing of an angle. Light, subtended to the eye, becomes ever more difficult because we're now in a density of air here at this point, and with distance laterally it becomes more dense. Light is then refracted, diffracted and reflected within that band. Okay? But this here gives you an inclination into the geometry of your vision, your eyes and how they function. It is no representation or any measure whatsoever of what the earth outside of your vision actually is, all the objects or apparent objects or any of that stuff.
Tall Chicago buildings viewed over Lake Michigan disappear bottom first, and you can see the sunset twice if you watch it lying down and then quickly stand up.
Things like this are only because, as I say, you're within a band. There's an angular limit here to your vision, okay? And as you elevate up, you elevate above the densest point of the medium, right? And light can now get to the eye. This can be demonstrated over and over and over again. Channel called Sky Free that I've shown here before a number of times have recreated this on a smaller scale. So you can see apparent objects going over curves at a small scale. It's purely optical phenomena. It's got nothing to do with what the shape of the earth is. But if we transpose that to things like perspective drawing, and we're utilising straight, horizontal, level lines to denote the horizon, and it works, and it's quite accurate, and represents reality quite accurate to how we perceive it, what does that then tell you about the earth that you're standing upon? You're never going to see curved surfaces in perspective drawing. It doesn't work. It only works when you use a straight horizontal level. In every case.
The simple fact is, if the Earth were flat, there wouldn't be a horizon beyond which things could disappear. So from across Lake Michigan, you'd be able to see all of Chicago.
If the Earth were flat, there wouldn't be a horizon. Yeah, this is where they do their switcheroo. They're uncertain to you that your horizon is due to an Earth curve. Right, so let's go back again. They're telling you it's due to Earth curve. Right, and asserting that if the Earth was flat, you'd be able to see forever. No, because it's optics. It's how optics function. And there's a massive glaring problem, as I've pointed out to many, many, many globe Earth zealots. You cannot have a globular Earth where you are standing at the top of the ball and your orientation of your vision is levelled, right, to your plumb. So you're standing perfectly plumb and your vision is now 90 degrees to your body, looking straight ahead. This here can never rise up in front of you. It must descend from your feet exponentially off into the distance. That's just basic geometry. It must descend from your feet 360 degrees around you, getting lower exponentially. No rise up into the centre of your field of view like this. This happens because you're on a level surface and you have spherical vision. And it creates this effect where it appears to you that the floor rises up into the centre of your field of view and the sky appears to descend. The reality is that it's just a straight line out that way and a straight line that way. Just like you can see in train tracks. If you look along train tracks, they appear to you to converge to a point. Just like any track, like a road. You know that it's two parallel lines. Parallel lines do not converge. When you view them though, and you look along them in a perspective view, they appear to converge. Now just invert the road 90 degrees. It's the same for the sky, same for the floor. They converge at the very same point. This represents the geometry of your vision. A central point and two hemispheres. Okay? And how they converge. Vision is all about light, what light is, how it interacts with objects, and how it interacts with your vision, your eyeballs. Again, nobody really knows what light is or any of that stuff. It's an ongoing investigation and a total separate investigation into what shape is the Earth. When we're looking at visible phenomena, we're looking at the geometry of vision, not the geometry of the three-dimensional space and the Earth that you stand upon. Same again in this example. You can see this for yourself. Just go outside. Pay attention.
First, and you can see the sunset twice if you watch it lying down and then quickly stand up. The simple fact is, if the Earth were flat, there wouldn't be a horizon beyond which things...
See? Because they have to assert that a horizon is due to the curvature of the Earth. A horizon is not an object, it's not a thing. It's a product of your vision, it's a product of the shape of your eye and how the eye perceives. That's what creates the horizon. It's not an actual thing, it's an apparent thing. Go and bring me a measure of horizon. Go and get me some.
Could disappear, so from across Lake Michigan you'd be able to see all of Chicago, as well as the Rocky Mountains.
If you just omit the geometry of optics and you go to orthographic views like this and then omit certain things and make silly assertions like this cretin is doing right now.
Number 2. During a lunar eclipse, the shadow of the Earth...
Now we're back to more red herrings. Red herring number 7. Shadows on the moon.
Is curved. And number 1. We know the Earth is round because we have photographic
evidence. With green stuff around the outer edge. We'll just ignore that. We'll just ignore the fact that that that's not an actual photograph. We'll just ignore the fact that that's actually a composite image. It's not a photograph like you and I know a photograph. No, it's a cartoon. Now, ask yourself, when have you ever had this point of view? When have you ever been able to see the earth in its entirety with your own eyes? This is another wee alarm bell for you cult lunatics out there, little cult disciples who are aware and who are unaware. You have never seen the earth from this perspective. You never will. The only place you've ever seen this image is on a screen, two-dimensionally. You have not seen this, or accessed it in its full entirety of 3 dimensions, moved around it, observed it, directly measured it. This is number one. Number one scientific evidence. The Earth's a globe, a picture on my TV screen.
Evidence.
Absolutely wonderful. You know, I should be able to take people through that 10 best reasons that the Earth's a globe, and people should be utterly astounded with themselves at how gullible and ignorant they have been to accept that absolute rubbish. So the point being, when people are offering you only visible phenomena, it's a study into the geometry of vision, not the shape of the earth. I don't know why there are still factions of people who are arguing and debating over this without pointing out the obvious, as I'm doing again right now, as I have done, as Gav has done here many, many times. Visible phenomena is a study of vision, not the shape of the earth. So it should be ending. Again, just another clue into these people and why they perpetuate this stuff and why they don't put it to bed and move on. I shouldn't ever see a debate between globe and flat based on visual perception. Unless, of course, they're discussing visual perception and not talking about visual perception as a proof or an evidence of the shape of the earth. It's ridiculous.